everyone. Thank you very much for being here. Jonathan, thank you again. It's a real pleasure to have you as a member in Metacirlce and as a speaker today. So maybe to start things off, let's introduce yourself. Can you tell
with pleasure.
who you are?
So yeah, thank you everyone for joining. I know everybody's busy. It's really a pleasure to be with you this morning. So I'm Jonathan. I'm 45 now. I live in Paris with my daughter and my wife. Well, most of my life I've been in the music industry. I've had a father that had a very nice career in the music industry all his life, and especially was known for creating the Village People, the disco band in the 70s, and our independent music label called Scorpio Music, where I started my career when I was 21, and soon to be joined by my younger brother, Anthony, who now runs Scorpio Music day to day. And I'm still involved, obviously, in the label, but more as a co-chairman with him. And so, yeah, most of my life in the music industry as an independent that has a lot of international production. So that taught me a lot about music in general, marketing, and entertainment as an independent dealing with many other people. But very quickly, I came in at the beginning of the transition of the music industry, of the old world, where you used to put out, CDs, plastic out there, and do heavy promotion on TVs, and transitioning into the new world. And I got to see that, and it was very interesting, and it was also very frustrating because as a young wolf entering the industry, I wanted to do many things, and I felt a little bit in difficulty to push new models. I'm talking 2000, 2001, 2002. And that brought me to, interest myself in tech. Because in France, when you do sciences vivantes, sciences politiques, like I did, and you don't do engineer studies, basically they stopped teaching you anything math related. Yeah. So I had zero experience. I barely knew how to open Excel, more or less, thanks to an internship at Morgan Stanley, but that's it. And I felt very limited by that. So long story short, I've been coding now for almost 20 years. Started at 25, to teach myself HTML, and it became a very, very big passion of mine.
How did you got started to it? Like through lessons, courses, boot camps? How did you?
No. At the time, it was still fairly early. It was less than 2010. So basically, I got out of a meeting with a webmaster who told me something completely ridiculous, and I said, "Fuck it." I'm going to the bookstore and I'm buying myself a book on HTML, and that's how I went. I went to La Fnac, for those who are in France who know, and I bought HTML for dummies. Awesome. And I started, it shouldn't be too hard, Yeah. Of course, it's very hard, and but fast forward 15 years, and it's become an incredible passion, and I really saw how creative and artistic coding can be. And since then, I've been waiting for the time where I could put both together: technology, my love for culture, entertainment, music, and touching, the greater, the greater masses out there, doing something possibly for the greatest audience possible. And it never felt quite right at the time until, a couple of years ago, at the first lockdown. I was home here in Paris, trying to find ways to spend my time, and I was playing Fortnite, and that's where a few things happened. Travis Scott, obviously, but also the new Unreal Engine 5 demo dropped more or less at that time. There were a couple of very interesting papers on how to apply deep learning, machine learning to animation, to image recognition, to image generation. Blockchain tech had been there for a few years, but you really felt it was on the rise again.
Yeah, it was the goal.
And all the ingredients seemed to be there, and it hit me. Holy shit. There's no real barrier to trying today to build something that could be exciting for the artist and for the audience. And so I started to, think, how can I do it? And having no contact in video game or tech industry, I just spent a couple months, on the internet, on ArtStation, on the forums, and trying to find out who would be a cool team to start doing it. And so I found 2-3 people, awesome people. Like for instance, there's our lead character designer, Baolong Zhang. He's arguably one of the top 20 guys in the world for a character, real-time character, design. He's Chinese, but he lives in Italy, and I finally met with him, and we saw eye to eye, and he's been with us ever since. And so building the team like that, and it took 6 months. I invested some of my own money in that, and then I met with Salif Gaye, Salif Cook Boys. Salif is a very cool guy. He's 23. He's a street dancer, and he became known for doing the moonwalk on the Champs-Élysées.
Yeah, he's quite popular.
Yeah, now he's a face for Lacoste, for Prada now. And so we met, and we brainstormed. He said, "Holy shit, it's fantastic! Let's do it!" And so he was the first avatar. Long story short, January 2021 seems like 10 years ago, but we did our first live where it was really roots, but at the same time very exciting. We were in the mocap studio, and we captured a live session of Salif in the mocap studio, projected his animation on his avatar, and broadcast that on Instagram in a live session from his account. It was already very exciting, and everything went well. There were no crash. That was fantastic. And it was really what made me verify that people actually love it. I mean, at least his audience reacted incredibly well. And the video was seen 2.5 million times on Instagram because Salif has incredible reach. Yeah. And that's what started us in our current current phase at Stage 11. We managed to hook up and start working with 2 of the biggest DJs in the world, Martin Garrix and David Guetta, completely off the record, just talking about the potential of real-time 3D, NFTs, Web3. The Metaverse wasn't yet a household name. Yeah. It was 6 months before Meta announced anything, and they were already very excited. And
yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to ask. Yeah. They were not like frightened a bit, saying like, it's so far, it's so weird what you're proposing and in the real world. And
nobody. Well, that's a sign that it was the right timing, because none of the artists I talked to actually said, what the F are you doing? Everybody thought it was interesting, intriguing, wanted to know more, but between that and actually signing somebody to go for it, there's a huge gap. So it took us 2-3 months to finally get to it. And I must say, like Martin and David at the same time said, let's go. But because of scheduling, it was easier to start with David Guetta. And so we recorded him. We did a session with him in April of last year, end of April. Where we did, we captured his avatar, and we'll show a bit of that after that. And at the same time, we did the first round of financing for Stage 11, the seed round. I had never done it before, so it's been a wonderful journey in the magical lands of VCs and funding. And I have a little bit of PTSD there, but all good. It's just you don't realize how much energy that's going to take you. Anyway, lucky enough to get some money, get some artists, and we've been working on it for more than a year now. And that brought us here, and about to launch the beta and to put on the market what we call the prologue, which is the 8 to 10 first minutes of the David Guetta experience, which we haven't announced yet exactly, but I'm going to tell you right now, it's most probably going to be November 20.
Awesome.
It's not official yet. Don't quote me on that, okay. But it will be that weekend, 99%. Yeah, that's an announcement soon. And so that's our journey. After all, it's 18 months. It goes very quickly. It's very, very intense, but this is where we are.
Yeah, it's really impressive, and I'm super impressed with the different talks we've had. How you the ambition of like you said last time, almost being at the 2 triple hey, a game. I mean, for the metaverse, it's something that we've never seen before. And I know that's you don't like to say that it's triple A quality because you're being a bit humble on this, but it's pretty insane. Like the quality and the immersion that you're bringing, and afterwards, if you can show us obviously some stuff, but the journey is quite insane. And also from you coming from the music and going into the gaming, and it's actually insane to see how the gaming industry is opening up also and bringing so much attention and in such a short lapse of time actually that you manage to to get such, I mean, involved in the gaming industry.
Absolutely, Benjamin. Thank you. And you have to give me hosts again for me to share my screen.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me record. I'll send you the link after. We'll do an edit. But yeah, as I was saying, it's very much thanks to how far the industry has come since then. We're standing on the shoulder of giants, Epic Games with Unreal Engine 4 and now 5. Unity, the incredible work they're doing with their frameworks. Without that, we'd never be able to do what we're doing. It's just impossible. Too much work, very, very challenging. Same thing without all the ecosystem around NFTs and the blockchain and Web3s and various projects there. It's just, yeah, we're right in this, we're hopefully in the right timing. And thanks to all that, we managed to put together tools and build only the minimum requirements to bring to market what we want to bring. And so, yeah, it's just wanted to make that clear. It's not just us. Obviously, we're reusing a lot of what's already out there.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, it's quite impressive. And when did you got your hands first into the Unreal Engine? Because you told me that you built
right away.
The MVP. I mean,
yeah, right away. We wanted to so with Belolo, we wanted to have we wanted to push real-time characters as far as we could. That's not to say that everything will be fully realistic. So that's one of the. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can.
That's one of our early David Guetta real-time representations. And so we wanted to make it realistic, to be able to capture as much the details of the artist as possible. But it's not exclusive. You'll be able to do cell shading. You'll be able to do deformed characters as well in the engine in stage 11. But that's the one thing that was interesting. And so I can show you also our icon work in progress.
Awesome.
The other thing that was very clear for us was that we needed to create an avatar system that's as modular as possible, because you see like his little jewel here, that's something that you can customize, obviously the facial hair, the clothes, but it's not just one skin for the entire body. Every layer is customizable, the t-shirt, the jacket, the shoes, finger by finger, not just as a way to monetize more, even though that's the key to monetize more, but also as a way for you to really dig in and make sure you can express yourself as a user. So our strategy was to build that with very well-known artists, because that gave us at least a path to being, break even financially. But those tools, we want to give them to any user. And so same thing,
it is insane. The lighting is insane. It's
and so right from the start, that was sorry about the noise. Somebody's ringing. They'll go away hopefully. And just to give you another projection on how we do this, we start with sketches. So that's our first virtual character. I've never shown her before, really, so it's kind of a first. We wanted a virtual DJ, half Chinese, half French, called Alpha. So we created her. This is some of the early concept art, and from there we've been developing her. And so there's this one here. That's the V1 of Alpha, work in progress. And so let me go up. And you can see that we worked on the simulation for the hair to make it dynamically. the rendering of the face, making sure we have our first layer of clothing, the level of details when you come in. And at the same time, while we do that, we do renderings also to give a mood. We wanted her to feel sexy but dangerous at the same time. So I hope still in progress. And then also making sure we can relay the relative sizes of everybody. And so there's one here where we put another version of our Snoop, work in progress, next to Alpha, starting to be dressed. The animation, also the animation system is a big work in progress for us. And we can go dive deep in there if you guys want to go deep on that, but we're building on the cutting edge of animation technology to make sure you can express yourself also in the way you move. And it's not just you press on a button to do that, but you can actually dance on rhythm and give some character to the way your character moves. Like even just a walk cycle, you can see between these two Snoops, there's very different, and it shows who you are as well. And so that's another thing we do. And what else? So yeah, basically looking for high quality avatars in high quality environments as well.
And how are you able to you mentioned like you want to be in rhythm if you want with the let's say in the 8 minutes prologue, and you might want to explain us through afterwards all that, but your character can make it either in rhythm or not whenever you're interacting with the, like you said, the animation, I don't know, the emotes maybe or stuff like that.
Yeah, all of this is work in progress, and you'll see a bit of it in the demo. But yeah, the end game, when we get out of the beta, we'll roll out an animation system that's very cutting edge. That's inspired by some research that's been going on for a couple of years, where indeed your character can animate itself in sync on the beat in real time. So what you need is you need, of course, you train neural networks before that to be able to have that synchronization. But then what you get is, for a certain type of music, we're going for EDM first, and on a certain range of tempo from 100 to 140 BPM, you get once you get recognition of the beat, and it's a bunch of algorithms that gives you impulses on which the animation system can synchronize itself.
That's really unique. Yeah. I mean, as a gamer myself, I've been gaming for my whole life, even though I'm only quite young still. But if you take the Fortnite experience with Travis Scott, for instance, it wasn't like that at all. I mean, it was you had the emotes and stuff, but to be in rhythm and to be really like feel that you're in the music, it was quite hard. And actually they zoomed on the fact that you could jump everywhere, being close to a character and stuff, but they didn't focus on the dancing animated experience with Travis Scott. It was more like the wow effects rather than the dancing. So that's really an interesting point.
That's normal, Benjamin, because to do this correctly, you have to completely create your animation system in the product with that. And so to retrofit something that already exists is not impossible at all. I mean, obviously, but it's way more work. And plus, that research wasn't available, for in a way you can deploy in a deployable way until less than a year ago. So it's very, very, very new. It's very cutting edge. And again, we're very lucky to be able to build on incredible R&D and open source repos that did all the hard work, and all we have to do is try to implement it in our products. But that's what's exciting, is that when you look at the music, and it can be used for many other things as well, by the way, but just looking at music, you can, the vision is to be able to go in a concert, go in a club, go in a place where there's music going on, and be able to have your avatar express itself in the vibe. And if you get that vibe, if every character in there expresses itself with the music, you get an atmosphere that's interesting, and you get that immersion.
And
that we're looking for, because that's the key for the metaverse, the sense of immersion, of being somewhere with other people. And that's something that still evades a lot of the products out there, but that's where I guess the whole industry has to go in the coming years.
and just to zoom out a little bit for everyone to understand, can you walk us through maybe the prologue and what you're
Absolutely.
actually doing and what is the stage 11 experience?
Absolutely. So at the end vision is to have an open world, like an MMO, but a social MMO, not necessarily an MMO where you have to shoot people all the time, although we may add some sections like that. But have an open world game that's AA, AAA. It's like many years of development. It's a lot of money, and so it was completely out of reach for at least for me at first. So we define a strategy where we might get there step by step in a more lean and iterative way by building musical experiences that are ambitious, but yet, small compared to a big game, and to grow our world like that, like every 2-3 months, 6 months, release another experience and release a bunch of new environments. And so for the David Guetta experience, which will be the first one, there's a story, and I don't want to kill the story, but I'll show you an animatic after that kind of gives you an idea. Basically, you're going to end up saving the world, saving the metaverse with Snoop David. It's like the tone is like Guardians of the Galaxy. It's a little bit funny. It's not serious. But and while you get the story going on, we introduce environments. So there's a city called Neo. There's a club called the Titanium Club. There's a canyon. There's in these places, once you finish the story mode, they're available open world, and you can go back and just chill. And they become the first little locations of our future open world. But it's small. Like you could, if you run around, you can do it like in 10 minutes. You've done all the environments. But we keep on building, and maybe 2, 3, 4 years from now, we've done so many that it's now a very big place. So that's the strategy. That's the tactic. And so I'm going to show you in a second a couple things, but that's just one half of the story. And that's where I started a couple of years ago with the team. But then we've been inspired a lot by what other companies have been doing, especially with mobile phones and AR and mixed reality. And I thought it was many years in the future, but actually I discovered that it was right around the corner. And when I look at what Pixlinks are doing, for instance, or there's a couple, or Jadu did a couple of very cool things, and I think they raised a little bit. They're preparing something soon. I thought it was extremely exciting to also have a mobile version and to factor in what we could do with mixed reality. And so and that became the way we present it to the general public, or when I pitch it, is we say, okay, the metaverse is an extension of the real world, so has the real world in it, and there's two facets of the same mirror. The one we think of generally first is you as a physical person entering a digital space with digital doubles, but there's the flip side. It's the digital world that comes to you wherever you are. At home, right here, or in the streets, and that's even more exciting potentially. And particularly in the number of devices, there's 1 billion phones out there capable of doing AR or mixed reality right now. Whereas machines able to run the AAA graphics that I showed you, maybe 100 million. So there's a 10x increase. And so we've started to build a story. Again, it has to be small because we can't just focus all our resources just on the mobile phone. We have to spread. So if you spread, you have to lower to make it more realistic, the features that you're going to release. But for us, for instance, just to give you a preview, that little alpha girl who's going to dance on the beat, she's going to also be available on our mobile phone to be able to place her, let's say, on the table right here, and have the beat prompts and the beat sync on your phone as well. And hoping to add a layer of geolocation with Thanks again to wonderful SDK from my Niantic games called Lightship. We don't have to do all that super hard stuff. They do it for us. And so we're just integrating with them. But we'll have a story that takes you from the real world to digital world. And one way we want to do this is by doing maybe a very small competition in AR. If you're in the top, you get a chance to get VIP tickets to go in the fully 3D version, and vice versa. So the Stage 11 app ecosystem will take you also on mobile. It's not just 3D.
This is what I think is really amazing with what you're building, is that, and you mentioned it's how the pieces are coming up together in terms of technology and also timing. You mentioned like the phones that are so powerful as well, and so you can keep track of your users, and you interact with them daily because they're on the phones and etc. And taking the best of also what's been done. I mean, I mentioned it when we met last week, when mentioned like the good elements of what brought Pokemon Go years ago, and that was so cool. But yet, like it felt like they just stopped, you know, at the entrance of the I don't know, the treasure, you know, how to say it, but and that is really something awesome. And you also, your associate Gregory showed me some elements on the phones, and it's pretty impressive. I mean, and yeah, awesome.
Thanks. And I can't wait to release that stuff.
Yeah.
So just to give you an example, like this is a very early test that was in March of this year. Feels like 10 years ago, but we had a fully explorable version of our Titanium Club here. And so we placed static assets to get a sense of the depth. But the ambition, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit, was to have a place where you can go to hear music, to buy virtual drinks if you want, and to go in every weekend and have listen to another DJ play. And that club could be a place where you can meet digitally with your friends, and maybe also exchange or get access to certain drops. You can see David Guetta mixing over there in the background. And we tested that, and we did iterations on that. There's a VIP stage behind, and the version of the Titanium that you'll have in November is a couple iterations after. It's way more immersive, more screens everywhere. But it's just to give you a sense that, yes, we're building a story, and I'll show you an animatic in a minute. But that story is just like cutting the ribbon on a zone in which you have different places where you can go again. And ultimately, the promise, I mean, the hope is that anybody who wants to host a party and mix, even you, even me, can do it. Because we give you the tools to do it, not just superstars. So that's an example of an actual place. What else can I show you? Yeah, and an example of a cool collectible or a cool accessory that you may be able to win and or buy, and that's useful, is the DJ decks. So we've been working on a digital double of the industry standard professional decks. And so this is not pre-rendered. This is our real-time assets in Unreal Engine 5. And we're working with the audio engine of Unreal to be able to pipe real music in there and give you a tool that will approach what you can do with the real ones. And so when you enter the Stage 11 app and you have those decks, you'll be able to select your songs and play them for your friends.
That's insane.
And wherever they are. There are, and this again, we've been working on this for 6 months. There's still a lot to do, and we've been also discussing it with our friends at Pioneer DJ. They're very excited. It's not official yet. Again, it's something just for you guys, a quick preview. Don't quote me, but that's part of it. And the idea is, again, like that the metaverse has to be a space for you, your friends, to express yourself, to be creative, and to connect. So even though what we released is very top down, like we're creating something big with David Guetta stars, it's just a way in marketing. And the real long-term vision is to build user-generated content and enable anybody to be able to connect. And to do that, it's not just technical issues that need to be solved. It's also in industry and legal issues to resolve, because right now, if you wanted to do that, what I just told you, mixing the metaverse for your friends, it's technically not legal, even in France, as of right now. So there's a bit of what we're doing is we're about to meet with SACEM, with different, right holder companies to discuss how can we make this completely legit as quickly as possible. And that's also a very interesting area for NFTs and Web3.
Because I would have guessed that you just say to the SACEM, I'm just another bar or another nightclub. I'll just pay the regular SACEM, but it's
it's not just SACEM is a big part, but there's limitations. There's loopholes in the law, basically, and when you try to be innovative, you have to take the risk of exploring what lies at the loophole, and hopefully hope that they're not going to shoot you. But but again, maybe a difference now as compared to 4 or 5 years ago. If we had tried to do this 4 or 5 years ago, it would be extremely hard, borderline impossible. But now you really feel everybody's ready. Everybody wants to move forward. Even the majors, we've been talking to all of them, in particular Sony Music as well. Everybody noticed. Everybody is open to discuss. So that's really exciting as compared to maybe 2-3 years ago. One last thing that I'll show you, couple things, and then maybe we can take a round of questions. Is this this notion of a musical metaverse adventure? What is it? And so this is a very early motion trailer that we did in Unreal Engine 4 at the time, November of last year, almost a year ago, to try to tell the story. It's changed a lot since then, and I'm just going to play it. Maybe I can reshare with the sound. One sec, because the sound is interesting. Share screen.
We hear the sound whenever you last time when you showed the Titanium Club. We had the sound.
Okay. And I'm just going to play it. And basically, it's 2 minutes, 30 seconds, lo-fi, but that gives you an idea of the narrative arc. And it's going to be 40-45 minutes long, the real finished version. And it's just going to be the way to introduce all those environments. So let me play that.
Excited.
So there you go. And so the format is going to be four people, four people multiplayer. And that's what you see at the beginning is four buddies. Maybe it's you and me, Benjamin, and a couple other people from the group. We fall into the stage 11 metaverse and we save the world with David. Do you have a? Are you still here? I can't hear you, but I can see people in the chat. Doug, you need to unmute me. Oh, okay. Ah, yes. Okay. Ask to unmute.
Thank you. Sorry.
In any case, just to see how far we've gone, this is a first pass of our opening cinematic, which will be real-time rendered as part of the game, not a cinematic per se, but this is the, let's say, 60% there.
So because the last stuff was on last November, and this is from when?
This is like current, like
okay, awesome.
This is like maybe a month ago.
All right.
And it transitions into the game. That's an example of, well, that's the back streets of Neo. And, you know, I don't want to spoil too much.
Yeah, don't.
It's closer to the final result, but where it's not like let's say 60% there.
It's really amazing. I mean, in the chat, everyone's saying as well, it's quite crazy, but I mean, wow. Just wow, Jonathan.
Thanks. We're trying. I mean, we're all super passionate and we're trying to do as much as we can with the small team and the small means that we have. But yeah, it's really cool. And what's going to be even cooler is when you can add any avatar you want, because that's another thing we didn't discuss. We want to be as open and interoperable as possible. Mm-hmm. So, you know, hopefully we'll be able to have your Minecraft guy come in like that, with the cubes, or you know, a Ready Player Me, so avatar that you may have, or even, you know, who knows, a Clone X, for instance. The point is, you can take your avatar that you already have and you can play with it. Obviously, we have to do integrations, and we're working on that. But for me, there's nothing wrong with having something completely voxelized next to something else, somebody else is completely realistic. So when you add that in the mix, and you get closer to the fun and the freedom that you ought to feel when you're in the metaverse. And so, because we believe the metaverse ought to be one place interconnected, so we're trying to build a little space in there. But the key is to be you know, able to talk to your friends and have assets come from wherever they come from.
Yeah.
So let's stop here if you want. Any questions?
Yeah, maybe there are questions from, first of all, from Neil.
I'll give you back the host so you can manage that, okay? Yeah, and I'll stop recording and you can start again.
Perfect. So Neil, I'll give you the floor with your question. Just ask you to unmute, or maybe you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Honestly, it's impressive. Happy to be part of Metacirlce with BEM Builders as well. So we're following all the evolution. Quick question. You mentioned about mobile. What I see is mostly computer. What about VR access, and which device will be the best to access to these experiences?
That's a very good question. As of today, you have to adapt your content for every device. Basically, you cannot use the exact same thing and hope it works everywhere. And so what I showed you is optimized for big screens. It would, but technically the way you can play it on any computer and any screen is through cloud rendering. That's the only way to do it. If you don't have the specs yourself, if you don't have a PS5 or you don't have a gaming PC, you're going to be able to get access to something that's almost as good, maybe a bit less frame per second, depending on your internet, but through a cloud session. And the cost you have is, one, you have to have access to a high-speed internet. Two, you have to be not too far from a data center that has that. So that's not worldwide yet. And three, for us, it's more expensive to manage. So we can't say, anybody can just come in with a cloud computing session because it's too expensive. But that opens it up a little bit. And then the hope is by 2-3 years from now, when it becomes really mainstream, by then any mid-size computer can play it. And now for the other devices, mobile phones with the AR stuff that I hinted, you don't render the entire environment, you just render the assets. So you'd have just one character, or maybe like a couple spotlights, and maybe just the DJ deck, and you have your own little scene in the real world with the digital stuff, AR, mixed reality in front. But what I'm trying to say, it's a different experience. It's not exactly the same. And the hope is to have a user experience where you have short-term, short length, little nuggets of content that you can create or participate in with your mobile and go do the more immersive interactive stuff on your desktop. And then VR is also another interesting question, because you can't copy paste the same experience. Even the one I showed you that's for desktop, you can't do it for VR without changing it, because you have to take into account motion sickness, and there are some super dynamic cuts with the camera going everywhere that is cool when you do a PS5 game. If you put it in your VR headset, it's just going to throw up immediately. So you have to do an adaptation. And that's not this year for us. We're going to hopefully release a first demo in the first quarter of next year. Depending on how you want to enter the Stage 11 experience, you'll have different versions of the same content. But it's impossible. I don't know how to do the same for everyone.
I think it's amazing.
Go ahead.
Yes. No. Thanks a lot. I'm very happy to see how all of this will evolve. And just one last comment.
Sure.
Wonderful immersion into the Titanium Disco Club. Happy to see if a more virtual related space can be, because it looks so real, or so related to physical world, that I believe this is maybe something we could twist to be more virtual codes related. And I know we have Adrien and Quentin around the table, and we've just developed the first manifesto for an anti-gravity architecture. So if ever you want to discuss about it, we're defining the new space.
And it's interesting what you just said. It's 100% true. And where we're coming from is like most of you guys, I guess I'm a fan of The Matrix, for example, on the movies. And I was thinking, why is Matrix 1 so much cooler than Matrix 2 or 3? And maybe one of the reasons why is because it starts in the real world in a way. And so when Trinity starts to fly and give spinning kicks, you're like, what the fuck is going on? So to get that wow effect, it's all a matter of contrast. So if you start in an environment that looks real, that has physical attributes that seem realistic, you set the stage for a wow factor when things start to go nuts. And so here, for instance, while the club is realistic, as the music plays, maybe the walls start to spread, maybe the DJ starts to levitate, and maybe you go into crazy land. But that wow effect will be better if you started from a realistic standpoint. That's just where I'm coming from. But if it's just to reproduce real world, yeah. I wouldn't say it's useless, because a lot of people can't access real world events. Like if you live in a small village and outside of Paris, there's many things that you can see or go through unless you take a train to Paris, for instance. So even if it stayed realistic, it'd still be interesting from the point of view of having some form of access to something that you can't go to in real life because you're too far. But it becomes really interesting when it becomes crazy. And intergravity architecture, count me in. I absolutely want to see it.
Awesome. I'll also bounce on Zacharias' question, because I think it's an important one related to the performance of your devices and how, I mean, like he says, the threat of only big computers and devices being able to run the game.
Yeah, that's a choice. Obviously, you have to, you can't, you know, you have, those are all trade-offs. So for us, we made the choice to build something super high quality that will, you know, that will still be relevant 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. And what the cost is that you can't be compatible for every hardware. It's just impossible. So you, at least for the desktop version, you have to have a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X or a gaming PC. What I mean by gaming PC is a PC fairly recent with at least an RTX 2060, I think, 2060 or 2070 or equivalent, which is more or less the same horsepower than a PS5, you know, 12 teraflops, if I remember correctly. But, you know, it's not, most 90%, 95% of music fans don't have that equipment, and I know it. Don't quote me on the 95%. It's just more a proportion. And so the answer is that as time goes by, more and more people will have the devices, and also for the fans that are really motivated right now and don't have the device, there's cloud rendering. But you can't reach everybody as of now with that quality. We have to be patient. But there's always a cost, you know, even if you're the Sandbox or Decentraland and you have this very specific rendering that in theory lets you reach more people, indeed you reach more people, but if you look at there, it's never enough. That's what I'm saying. And half the world doesn't have access to any form of computing anyway. So it's just what niche do you try to find? And we said with this, you know, for me right from the start, I wanted to go as high in quality as possible. So we have to pay this with less users potentially at first.
There's also a question from Quentin, who is wondering about the user-generated content. Yeah, sorry, Zakaria, of course. Go ahead. I think I gave you the floor. You should be able to unmute yourself now.
Hi, you listen to me?
Sure.
Yeah. Hi, nice to meet you, Jonathan and Benjamin, and thanks to join. I'm really happy to join Metacirlce. I'm the CEO of Verstage. We are builder in the metaverse with Sandbox and all the metaverses like Decentraland and all of that. And yes, yeah, okay, I understand like the answer of the question, and I think the like you said, like maybe with like every artist who wants to every people that like music who wants to play to your experience don't have the computer, like you said, maybe with the cloud, like imagine like the Shadow, the company in France, like
Shadow, of course.
The cloud.
Absolutely.
Yeah. With this type of company, or like Stadia, Google, I don't think it's Google, I don't remember, but like there is like some software that able people like to play with the cloud. So maybe it will be the solution. But like also, if you see Overside, I didn't try the test of Overside, like the metaverse of Yuga Labs, but like it's really crazy because it's a web version. And they are actually able to render like things that really takes like some resource, I think, from every computer cannot run it. And it's really crazy because they can be able to run it with like a single Chrome Chrome web browser, so it's really
indeed,
really,
Zakaria.
yeah.
But actually, web rendering, WebGL and WASM, WebAssembly. If you have the right computer, it's amazing how much you can render. But you still have to have the right computer. If you're running it on your Chromebook,
also,
I'm not sure.
Of course,
yeah.
But I think like they have a technology because their game is based on Unreal Engine 5, and they are back with Improbable, which is like one of the biggest
awesome tech.
So maybe they have a solution for that. I think like because they are actually rendering a game built in Unreal Engine 5 that takes a lot of resource, like a lot of entities is played in with 2,000 people in the same map, and I think they have maybe the technology, but like I wanted to know maybe you had this technology yet, but
we're looking at it absolutely. But no matter how much you optimize, at the end of the day, it's only going to touch 10% of the total addressable market. Most people are out there with mobiles anyway, so you have to see it as a work in progress. Like internet was maybe in 99, 98, 2000, and we're building for 10 years here. And so the question is, how can you build something that's going to stand the test of time? It's going to be, and for us, hopefully, to be at least cash neutral as quickly as possible, so as to survive and continue building. And so you have to use, hopefully, use whatever trade-off you're making to optimize for that. So we reduce the number of machines, but we up the quality, and hopefully we're making it good enough that people would be happy to buy tickets. That's how, and to introduce, that's how we could monetize it. But there's an infinity of potential mixes, and we'll look at how things evolve. I mean, Improbable is their server technology seems absolutely yes. We haven't tested it yet.
We have a lot of technology like Density, which is the technology they created like to manage like 2,000 people in the same world, like, and all the entity with it. And but so thanks for the answer, and congratulations for all the work. It's really great work. Like
thanks.
Yeah,
still,
and all the tech and the design.
There's 20 dudes, and I know there's a few women, and they're the pillars of the company. There's a bunch of people here in Paris working on it very hard, as of right now. Still 6 weeks to go. But I can see Quentin has a question about UGC.
Thanks.
Thank you, Zakaria. Maybe we'll end on this last question, and if that's fine with you, and just the last question on UGC.
Absolutely. I sort of hinted about it with the decks. UGC is as far as I know, the only way to really make this thing scale, because we're not going to be able to produce all these ourselves. But to build the tools for builders to actually express themselves at this level of quality is extremely complex. And we're building, and we're trying to find out what we need ourselves creatively. So the internal studio, every day, every week, we come back and we say, okay, it would be really cool if we have an auto rig system, for instance, to import more characters faster. So as we build these tools for us internally, we will build the creator tools that any creative person could use as quickly as possible to build the content themselves on stage 11. But that's maybe 1 year, 2 years in the future. And there's a way to open it up gradually. For instance, with the decks, you could have a very small feature, which is doing your own, mix for your friends in the club. And then for independent studios, if we manage to attract a big audience, maybe some independent producers would be interested to do a metaverse experience on stage 11. So we'd be more than happy to support independent studios or producers to interface with us and give them tools. And then as quickly as we can, any kid in a garage or in his room, a bit like Roblox Studio does or Sandbox, for instance, and many others, but it's super hard to build those tools. And because we're still very small, we had to choose. Either we do high quality content or we do high quality tools, but both at the same time, we would have failed. But the end game is for sure UGC.
Quentin is the... Yeah, sorry, you can, if you can answer, Quentin.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jonathan. I have nothing to say more that I really want to see what's going to happen with UGC for stage 11. Yeah, I'm truly confident about the fact that some like solo producer or studio will just explore your solution and make great experiences. And I would love to be keep in touch for that, because
with pleasure, 100%. You know, and we'd like to collaborate with a handful of either independent builders or small studios to build that together, starting early next year. So let's keep in touch. One last thing before we stop, though, is that I'm very excited about where we're going in the vision. Please be patient with us. The first demo is going to be cool, but it's not going to be like everything I just said all at once. It's going to take a few more months to build this. So I don't want to overhype it. What you'll get is hopefully a fun experience with cool music and with nice graphics. And we'll take it from there. But yeah, there's always a risk when you're passionate and you give a vision to overhype it. So just wanted to say that.
All right.
No, I don't want to disappoint you guys.
We won't. Thank you very much, Jonathan, for your time, and yeah, looking forward to see all of it.
Don't hesitate to keep in touch, huh?
Yeah.
Send me messages, anything. Thanks for the invite, Benjamin. Thank you guys for taking the time, and I'll see you soon.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.